Приветствую вас, дорогие друзья! Вы находитесь на канале Let's Play 365. Мы с вами продолжим прохождение игры под названием The Council, что означает в переводе как совет. Совет тайных заговорщиков. Итак, давайте загрузимся. В прошлой серии мы с вами закончили пролог, и нас обвинили в убийстве наркоманки. Поэтому мы сейчас будем реабилитироваться и доказывать, что мы не олень. Давайте сейчас займемся этим делом.
Mother has always had a fascination for Lord Mortimer, but has never wanted to tell me why.
We are doing our utmost to find your mother as quickly as possible. Without your mother, hundreds of men of the cloth would have gone to the guillotine.
All I can tell you is I'm looking for my sister.
Do you believe your mother capable of torturing a child?
An agreement for cannons. Lord Mortimer assured me that you are to take over the project on behalf of your mother.
Johann Christoph von Wollner, Minister of Religious Affairs, and Jacques Peroux, French Revolutionary Tribunal Judge. You will find that Lord Mortimer is not what one would call conventional, Monsieur de Richet. Monsieur de Richet, I am arresting you for the murder of Elizabeth Adams.
Так, выберите манускрипт. Сейчас что-нибудь прочитаем. Манипулирование +1. Так, это я не могу. Этикет +1. Логика +1. Этикет +1. Давайте манипулирование. Кабинет лорда Мортимера. 22 января 1793 года. The Council. Эпизод 2.
Do you mind if I call you Louis?
Please do.
Thank you. I wish to apologize wholeheartedly, Louis. I made you cross the seas, and I wasn't even here to welcome you. When I asked you to join us here, it was, of course, in the hope that you would help us find your mother. But an act of horrific violence occurred during the night, and I do not know if this is linked to the disappearance of Sarah.
What are you getting at? What act of violence?
We found Elizabeth Adams' body in her room. She was brutally murdered, stabbed several times. I'll get straight to the point, Louis. According to the initial elements at my disposal, you were the last person to see her alive.
Yes, last night we, Do you suspect me?
I want you to tell me everything that happened last night and leave nothing out. Tell me, how did the evening begin?
Ну я шел с герцогиней же. Или нет? Ну я шел с ней, она выбежала. Ну да.
Duchess Hillsborough and I were returning to our rooms when Elizabeth came up to us. She was in a state of panic and insisted that she needed to speak to me. She said she feared for her life. I took my leave of the Duchess and followed Elizabeth to her room.
Continue.
She insisted we have a drink, without which she refused to confide anything.
What exactly did she want to speak about?
Так я же не пил. О том, что она видела мою мать, да.
She claimed she saw my mother the previous evening on the cliff, if I remember correctly.
Interesting. I will send someone as soon as possible. But do go on.
I refused to go on drinking with her. She already seemed drunk and her conversation became confused. So then she ordered me to get out. If only I'd stayed.
Don't blame yourself, Louis. How could you have known? But thank you for this new information. Louis, I shan't hide the fact that this tragedy puts me in a very delicate situation. I cannot risk upsetting the smooth operation of our next conference. But the case cannot remain unaddressed. I must reassure my guests, and justice will be done. And for that to happen, I must ask for your help.
Why's that?
You met Elizabeth. You spoke together, I believe. She trusted you. Listen, Louis. Find out who could have committed this murder. I refuse to believe that one of my guests is the murderer. I want to know who is responsible for this. And I trust you. You have my backing. You must stop at nothing. Can I count on you?
Of course. How would you like me to proceed?
Maybe you could start by going to the scene of the crime. Elizabeth was attacked in her room.
Can you tell me anything else about what happened?
Now, Louis, I wouldn't want to influence you. Get over there and form your own opinion.
Do you have any suspects in mind, my lord?
I spent most of the night talking with Sir Gregory and His Eminence Piaggi, so I think you can remove them from the list of suspects. Monsieur Bonaparte and President Washington left the party after midnight, I believe. They were tired and went up to bed.
Right. I'll get over there immediately.
Thank you, Louis. Now, once you've finished, come back and let me know your findings. I'll be waiting. And Louis, you've got permission to search through the guests' rooms. They've all been notified and they agree.
Ну, понятно, в чем заключается суть этой главы. Нужно найти убийцу. Я, кажется, нет места. Так, там кто-то сидит. Надо подойти сначала к этому. К отче подойдем, поговорим.
Which four-letter word could open this?
Что? Из 4 букв. ПМНТ. ПМНТ. Но пока не знаю. Вот, наверное, да. Тут еще буквы новые. Ну, спой, короче, не так не угадаешь. Нет, надо знать. Какая-то подсказка должна быть. Золотой эликсир. Так, надо... Так, монетка. Надо не забыть, что здесь сундук есть. Так, сюда потом пойдем.
Dante's Purgatory. Why does your mind presume to flight when you're still like the imperfect grub, the worm before it's attained its final form? Charming. Dante's Purgatory. Why does your mind presume to flight when you're still like the imperfect grub, the worm before it's attained its final form? Charming.
Дант. Нет, из 4 букв. А там есть слова из 4 букв. Данте 5 букв. Вот еще раз.
Why does your mind presume to flight when you're still like the imperfect grub, the worm before it's attained its final form?
Нет, плоть тоже 5 букв. Офигенно, изумительно, ни черта непонятно. Так.
Your Eminence, I imagine that you've heard the news about Miss Adams.
What a tragedy, my son. How could such a thing have happened?
That's exactly what I'm trying to find out. Did you notice anything out of the ordinary last night?
I saw the young French soldier, Bonaparte, I believe, hanging around near Miss Adams' room. But I would not want to get an innocent man into trouble. It's probably nothing.
Ну, если ты видел, значит, тоже там был. Кстати, у меня есть же опыт расследования таких дел по Шерлоку Холмсу. Там я 2 невиновных засадил, так что здесь как-нибудь разберемся.
But if I were you, my son, I would talk to Monsieur Perrault. You remember how violently he set upon Miss Adams.
Oh, don't worry. He's on the list of suspects.
Слишком было бы очевидно, если честно. Якорцы. Так. Так, Мартимер. Так, а что здесь можно своровать? Сколько предметов. С слугами говорить нельзя. А, это 2 слуги.
The nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781.
Так. Ну, я понимаю, сейчас к Мартимеру представать вообще смысла никакого нет. Так, мне нужно идти, скорее всего, вниз. Так, все. Что такое? Колодец, это знаете, как фильм «300 спартанцев». This is Sparta. И ногой он пнул этого гонца. Примерно то же самое. Так, ладно, идем вниз. Еще нам дали добро обследовать все комнаты. Что же? А, так это он на 3-м этаже получается. Все, я понял, где он находится. Так, сюда нельзя зайти. А комната того чувака находится... Так. Где-то что-то здесь я должен найти. Сначала должен комнату эту найти. Психопатки. Коллекционные монеты. 100 раз тут бегал. Так, это кто? А чья комната вообще?
Good day, Monsieur de Richet.
Mr. Volner, are you looking for anything in particular? Next to Elizabeth's room?
Nothing special.
Has anyone told you that Elizabeth was killed last night?
Yes. Rumors spread quickly.
He looks very put out.
It's horrible. How did it happen?
I can say nothing to you, sir. You'd better follow your host's instructions and stay in your quarters.
I shall leave you now, sir. I will return to my room.
А вот ее комната. Ну, я думаю, отсюда начать надо, и дальше будет видно. Она до сих пор валяется. Поди изрезанные с ножом, что ли. Сейчас типа будут намекать на то, что типа мать. О, сколько улик. Ух ты, чувак, а ты здесь как оказался?
Do you know who could have made such a mess of this room?
Miss Adams, sir. We were given orders to leave the room as it was, so as not to rush her.
Did she have a fight with someone to get the room into this state?
Not that I know of, sir. Miss Adams would sometimes throw a tantrum, during which she would destroy anything that came to hand. Lord Mortimer told us not to enter the room.
Thanks for that information.
You are welcome, sir. Has Sir finished with this room?
No, I haven't gone over everything yet.
Sir may take his time. When Sir would like to leave, Sir has only to tell me.
My dear Elizabeth.
Так, ну это я читал. Я же здесь был уже. Так, давайте сначала здесь пройдем. Ага, часы. И он смотрел тоже на часы. 3:54.
I've just established the time of the crime.
3:54.
Pentagram. What the hell's been going on here?
Это что такое логика?
Contrary to what most people believe, the pentagram's not there to conjure up, I don't know what evil or demonic creature. With the point toward the top, the pentagram is an ancient symbol of protection against evil.
Защита от злых духов.
I wonder if Elizabeth's death has anything at all to do with this pentagram. If a ritual went wrong and degenerated, Elizabeth would probably have been killed in the center of the pentagram, not 3 meters from here. That's strange. A notebook written in Elizabeth's handwriting. It is written in a mix of several languages. Not too easy to work out. It's medieval Latin. Well, enough to translate a bit. He's coming. The demon is upon me. He's coming back to kill me. There she is. Death has come to finish me off. I've just run into her son. That was her last entry. What tortured writing.
Типа она уже здесь намекает на мать. Так, это, по-моему, я читал.
1792. Elizabeth, I'm driven to despair.
Так, это понятно. Здесь что? Пистолет.
Pistol? Fairly new, I'd say. And judging by the weight of it, fairly light.
Заглянуть в дуло. Хорошее начало. Так, давайте с рукоятки начнем.
There's a few dried traces of blood on the grip. Difficult to know for sure how they got there. A tribute engraved on the barrel to the liberators of France.
Наполеон, блин. Ну давай заглянем. Поди-ка с трофейной.
Extremely well maintained. The barrel is perfectly clean. It isn't loaded and there's no traces of gunshot residue. I'd conclude that it hasn't been used recently.
То есть, короче, Наполеон не виноват.
I shall have to find its owner.
Ну кто-то явно его подкинул. Я думаю, хотели спереть на Наполеона. Это явно прям освободитель Франции, это же каждый знает. Наполеон, Франция, пистолет, то, что он пушки просил договор. Но он, короче, получается, с него не стреляли никогда, и это явно подкинули. Вот это вот как типа, чтобы я подумал на Наполеона. Но только если Наполеон не оказался умнее, не подкинул его, чтоб я подумал на него и подумал, что это глупо, и не стал на него думать. Но это офигенная трехходовка. Конечно же, была бы.
Piece of fabric, high quality at that. I'd say it's silk.
Going by the texture and the gray hue, it must come from a dress, that kind that women of quality wear.
Благородная дама тут одна, походу. Ну, либо типа мать, я так понимаю, либо Эмили, или там ее сестра. Проанализировать, вспомнить. Этикет.
It's a travel dress. The silk has been lightly waxed to protect it from bad weather. And I know the very woman who came up with the idea, given all the traveling she does. My mother. God help us. Why did she come here in the first place? The material appears to have undergone abnormal wear and tear. She must have been scouring the countryside, and that doesn't look good.
Так, значит, все-таки платье матери, да? Платье. Так, пистолет подкинули Наполеон. Так, ой, что-то здесь. Ключ с 5 кольцами. Это от какого-то сундука. О, еще 2 письма. 30 ноября 1791 года. Дорогая сестричка, новость об отмене нашей встречи стала для меня настоящим ударом. Отец сказал, что ради твоего благополучия, но мне от этого не легче. Он утверждает, что тебе стало хуже. Эта встреча может навредить как мне, так и тебе. Если бы я только знала, где ты, я бы сейчас же приехала. Ты очень давно мне ничего не писала. Пожалуйста, ответь. Любовью, твоя сестра Эбигейл. Надеюсь, тебе понравится этот талисман. Где? Какой талисман? 24 августа 1792 года. Элизабет, я в отчаянии, не знаю даже, стоит ли тебе писать. Может, ты не получишь моих писем. Отец пристально следит за моей корреспонденцией. Он явно пропускает далеко не все. К счастью, одна из горничных помогает мне отправлять письма. Правда, ни на одно я не получил ответа. Я часто думал о тебе и каждый день молю Бога о встрече с тобой. Мы обязательно все наверстаем. Пожалуйста, ответь мне, прошу. С любовью, твоя сестра Эбигейл. По скриптум. Вчера снова приходила та страшная женщина. Они с отцом долго о чем-то беседовали. Я не все поняла, потому что они говорили на французском. Но они точно обсуждали тебя. Короче, мать приходила, так понимаю. Так, что у нас тут? Пузырьки с опием. Вспомнить, как действует опий? Ну, как действует? Что мне это даст вообще? Вашингтон? Ну, давайте вспомним.
If the body wounds are anything to go by, then clearly not. She put up a fierce fight.
То есть она, получается, сопротивлялась, значит, ее не опоили, да?
The lower part of the handle is unsullied by blood. The murderer gripped the weapon so tight that there's no blood where he held it. The handprint indicates a small and slender hand. The blade is short and thin, well sharpened, apparently. It's covered in blood. Still fresh. The handprint on the handle is really small. I can't imagine a man with a hand that size. It must be from a woman's hand.
Либо мать, либо типа Эмили, либо ее сестра. А может, сестры у нее нет, у нее типа раздвоение личности, типа. Или она типа все время говорит, что как будто есть, а на самом деле нет. Странная женщина.
Poor girl bled to death. Whoever left that footprint has boats for feet. That's at least a size 15. Where's a size like that here? Peru? Washington, maybe.
Понятно, след большой. Еще один момент. Нам же показывали типа скачок видения, когда мы высаживались на пристани, что мать убивает эту Эмили. А если она и убила, но тут типа сестру-близнеца, а это типа мстит или не знает, что ее убили? Логично? Так, большой размер ноги, маленькая рука, офигенный просто. Тут, оказывается, они все, наверное, были. Целое групповое убийство. Может, реально ее убило несколько человек? Наполеон тут был, и Перю, и Эмили. Так, ну давайте слева направо по часовой стрелке. А, нет, справа на почасовой, ага.
I count no fewer than 9 wounds on the thorax with a lot of blood. At first sight, I'd say that's what caused her death. It looks as though the wounds were inflicted from a precise angle, as if the murderer was standing behind Elizabeth. Some of these tattoos are veritable works of... What's that? The skin between her breasts is different. Bloody hell! This tattoo was drawn on a page of leather and stitched onto her skin. Probably during childhood. If the scars are anything to go by. It's the same kind of tattoo as on the rest of her body. No wounds, but blood on the right hand. Nothing on the left except that tattooed symbol. This pinnacle's a trap. The wearers of the pinnacle thought that they were protected from evil by surrounding it inside the different circles of the pinnacle. Blood, but no trace of blows on the legs. More tattoos, similar to those on the rest of her body. Let's see.
Что он там пальцем проверяет?
Trace of sexual assault or rape.
Куда он заглянул? Так, голову. Глаза красные.
Bruising on the skull.
Скорее всего, задушили, что ли?
From a previous craniectomy. Poor Elizabeth, she must have been very young when she went through all that. That's torture. She also has old scars around the neck, and maybe mutilations. She bled from the nose. Signs of bleeding, but I don't see any traces of bruising.
Ничего.
What a strange smell.
Ну-ка, что такое вообще? А, вот как это работает. Наука.
Breath. Smells of alcohol and of laudanum. We'll use it to relieve pain. There are numerous marks on the body. She must have fought like a lion. It couldn't have happened without a lot of noise. There are also a number of old scars.
Психология. Явно пыталась, наверное, покончить жизнь самоубийством когда-то там.
Scars are superficial and were made several years ago.
Не
She wasn't
похоже?
trying to take her own life.
Неужели?
People who scar themselves in this way generally do so to relieve some kind of psychological suffering. By trying to master the pain, they establish their self-control. Scarring, ugh. Scarring isn't very regular, but they're mostly from old cuts. Symbol of Masons? What's that doing here? She had the Sigillum de Ameth tattooed on her. The symbol of the living God. Written in the language of angels, according to believers. It is rare for someone to know about symbols like this at her age. Unless her mother was a tutor.
Ну все. Вроде я тут все посмотрел. Так. Бутылку я смотрел. По-моему. Нет, бутылку я не смотрел. Ну, понюхать, не пить.
Same thing Elizabeth served me last night. Still just as disgusting. I don't know what's happened to this wine, but it's undrinkable.
Так, и вот еще я заметил. Блин. Какой-то опять повесил себе негативный эффект.
Blood spatter indicates that the murderer must have held Elizabeth upright during the attack. Even if Elizabeth wasn't very big, I doubt she wouldn't have put up a struggle. It takes tremendous strength to overpower someone like that.
То выяснится, что она сама себя убила. Не исключено. Так, а здесь... А, ну здесь я смотрел. Так, ну вроде я все посмотрел, что можно было. Так, это посмотрел, нож посмотрел, кровь посмотрел, тут следы, тело осмотрел и на стену глянул. Ладно, чувак.
Has Sir finished with this room?
I know enough now. Thank you.
Very well, sir. Sir may return whenever need be. I shall guard the door.
Блин, что еще? Сюда можно вернуться, значит, я что ли не все сделал? Так, ладно, пойдем. Надо обыскивать.
President George Washington.
Так, здесь я не был еще в этой комнате. Ну, кстати, в больших ботинках они могли потом ходить после, грубо говоря, после того, как ее уже убили. Они же там все лазили, поди. Да, так что, в принципе, это ничего не доказывает. Наполеон. А, не, подожди, давай сначала обшарим. Хорошо в угол-то вдуплять. Так, картина меня не интересует. 2 письма. Дорогой Джордж, рад вновь пригласить вас на свой остров. У меня появилась одна задумка. Соединенные Штаты заслуживают лучшей роли на международном арене. Я понимаю, вы не хотите играть с огнем, пока ваша страна так молода. Но смею вас заверить, мои планы никак не угрожают тому, что нам с вами удалось достичь. Терпением жду встречи, ваш друг Уильям. Короче, этот, понимаю, Мартимер, это что-то мутит политические темы. Потому что Наполеон здесь, Вашингтон. Торговые сделки. Политика недоступна. А, все равно недоступно. Так, хорошо, у меня висит этот значок, и в следующий раз я использую без затраты очков действий. Какое-либо произведу действие без траты очков. Что-то я растранжирил все эти. Здесь что?
Carmelite water. They say that if you drink this, it gives you a real boost.
Что такое ванна? Серьезно? Тут, блядь, можно было джакузи разместить. Ванна, даже жопу не помыть нормально. Так, ладно. Так, часы. Ну все, идем опять слушать длинные офигительные истории от Джорджа Вашингтона.
Greetings, Lee.
Mr. President, you can guess why I'm here.
Of course.
Lord Mortimer has sent me to ask you a few questions about last night.
It's... How am I going to tell Elizabeth's father that she's dead?
I know, Mr. President. I shall endeavor to find out the truth about this tragedy. I must ask you to help me, though. Please.
Find the degenerate pig who did this, Louis.
Tell me, Mr. President, had you spoken to Elizabeth since your arrival? You know her father. You thought she was dead.
No, I didn't. And I believe I'll be taking my remorse with me to my grave. I wanted to, but I didn't know where to begin.
You can't blame yourself. You couldn't have known that her days were numbered. Were you aware that Elizabeth took laudanum?
Yes, she came to ask me for some. She had finished her reserve, I believe.
Did she tell you why she was so desperate to get some, Mr. President?
She said she had terrible migraines that wouldn't go away.
More likely for the voices she heard, not the migraines. I'm talking to all the guests to find out who has an alibi and, well, who doesn't, Mr. President. Can you tell me what you were doing last night so that I can strike your name off the list?
I spent the night right here, reading.
all night?
Exactly. Emily stopped by in the middle of the night, you can ask her. She wanted to talk about some business we have in common.
Anything whatsoever to do with Elizabeth?
Not at all, Louis. A business matter.
Эмили, да, все-таки? Хочу продолжить допрос.
Mr. President, we found a footprint at the scene of the crime.
Not a dress shoe, I hope. That's all I wear.
No, rest assured. It looks like the print of a big ankle boot. A large size, I'd say.
Perfect. That should help you, Louis. It's a clue.
Так понимаю, здесь все. Так, Эмили заходила к нему. Они друг на друга сейчас стрелы будут метать. Мне еще бы пюри найти для Наполеона. Так, ладно, давайте. Мне вот сюда, наверное. Или я отсюда пришел. Наверное, мне прямо. Черт возьми, или нет? Ну да. Чья комната? Вот. Правильно движемся. Ах, то он что? Оказывается, уже автоматически вне подозрения. Так, нет, моя мне не нужна. Так, осталась комната Наполеона и Эмили. Черт. Они же где-то здесь должны быть. Наполеон. И к Эмили еще надо сходить. Я вроде же обыскивал его комнату, уже не помню. Ладно, может, что еще тут оставили. Так, мне пока не нужен. Так, ну это письмо, по-моему, мы читали. Да.
Bicorn decorated with a cockade. It must belong to a French soldier.
А, да, смотрели мы так. Ну, по-моему, я все обсматривал. Ну, на всякий случай.
One holster in Bonaparte's gear, and the pistol is missing. On the other hand, his cleaning equipment is in mint condition.
Пистолета нет.
That's typical of the soldier in him.
Надо спросить про пистолет. Так, если мы выяснили, что это, скорее всего, не... Так, это я тоже читал. Значит, мы выяснили, что пистолета нет, он валяется там. И большой отпечаток ноги, но это не типа Вашингтон, потому что он ходит в туфлях. Аки транс, поэтому... Сейчас спрашиваем про пистолет, и все улики-то указывают, в принципе, на Эмили.
Monsieur de Richet, please be quick. We are both very busy.
As any good soldier would, I imagine you own a firearm. May I see it?
Oh, well, if you really want to, here is my pistol. Don't worry, it is not loaded.
Do you have several of these?
In Corsica, oui. but not on me when I am traveling. Only a bandit would carry such an arsenal.
Thank you.
Ха, то есть пистолет у него с собой, да?
Someone saw you not far from the victim's room. Can you tell me what you were doing exactly, please?
I can tell you that someone is an idiot. I wanted to warn her to be careful. You see, on the night of my arrival, I saw someone leaving her room in haste, and I wanted to speak to her, to warn her. Unfortunately, the young lady slipped through my fingers each time. Now I know why. She had every reason to be worried. What an idiot I was not to insist. I could have helped her.
I've been studying him for a while now, and I don't think he was lying. Yet, I'm surprised how easy it was for me to read him. It must surely be his military side. I wish they all could be like that. My investigation would be finished already.
Did you hear about young Elizabeth?
Indeed, it is deeply regrettable.
Lord Mortimer asked me to...
I know. You no doubt want to know my alibi. I spent the night downstairs playing cards.
Can you tell me who was present at the game, please?
Well, there were Lord Mortimer, President Washington, and Sir Gregory.
Thank you.
Ah, and His Eminence Piaget as well. Excuse me, I nearly forgot him. Poor soul.
What time did the game end?
I can't say exactly. As for me, I must have stayed until midnight. I was exhausted, couldn't think straight. So I preferred to go up to bed.
On your way up to bed, did you notice anything out of the ordinary?
No, not in the least. The whole manor was sound asleep.
Not really. No. Did any of you leave during the game?
Not that I know of, monsieur. I didn't exactly spend my time noting the other guests' comings and goings, but I don't think so.
Thank you. Did you notice anything unusual during the evening?
Nothing at all, except the luck of the devil of Lord Mortimer and Sir Gregory at cards.
Did they win much?
Oh la la, monsieur, they cleaned us out more like. But I plan on getting it all back before we leave.
Ну, все понятно, все типа указывает на Эмили. Но еще Перю есть, но я не думаю, что Перю это слишком просто было бы. Поскольку у них у всех явные типа улики, там пистолет подброшенный, ботинок, а у нее только уже на рукоятке ножа именно отпечаток маленькой руки. Что как бы намекает. Так, откуда я пришел? Тоже черта, оттуда, значит, сюда мне надо идти. Наверное. Так, еще чья комната? А, вот она. А, еще с Перю поговорить. А Перю, наверное, на первом этаже. На первый этаж я спуститься не могу. Ну, хотя я не думаю, что с ним надо разговаривать. Как бы я подозреваю Эмили. Так, здесь я еще не был.
King George III in coronation robes. Nice touch for the room of an English duchess.
Так. Здравствуй, Спасибо за последнее письмо. К сожалению, корона предупредила Золотой Орден, что мы ни в коем случае не должны помешать сэру Грегори. Им явно удалось заручиться поддержкой Букингемского дворца. Нас связали по рукам и ногам и лишили всякой свободы действий. Держи меня в курсе. Выполнить задание будет непросто. С любовью, Э. По скриптум. Судя по всему, французский орден не знает о поездке нашей знакомой Сары. Посему ничего не могу тебе сказать. Впрочем, как мне кажется, она явилась сюда по личному делу. Типа сестра писала, да?
Grammar of Pont-Royal. Ah, the artistry of the French language in all its splendor. Whoever masters French commands the world. At least une partie of it.
A letter from William Pitt the Younger addressed to Emily. He's the present Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Emily has indeed some powerful backers. Madam, thank you for consoling the Queen. The king's situation is worsening.
Мадам, благодарю вас за заботу о королеве. Королю с каждым днем становится хуже, но я полагаю, припадок скоро пройдет. Не могли бы вы при встрече попросить Ее Величество обсудить с супругом мое ходатайство о повышении налогов? Я делаю все возможное, чтобы спасти страну от разрухи, но, к сожалению, из-за душевного недуга короля действовать быстро не получается. Заранее благодарю за помощь. Уильям Питт, премьер-министр Королевства Великобритании. Черт, иди до меня.
Two coils circle the lock.
О. Уважаемый Грегори, благодарю вас за информацию. Мне удалось немного разузнать об этих людях. Джорджу Вашингтону можно доверять. Несмотря на политические успехи, он остается честным человеком. С другой стороны, как вам известно, он уже ведет дела с лордом Мортимером. Получить его доверие будет сложно. О Наполеоне Бонапарте я до сегодняшнего дня ничего не слышала. Этот пылкий молодой офицер французской армии, которого Мортимер порочит великое будущее. Будьте осторожны, он человек твердых убеждений, а потому, на мой взгляд, опасный противник. Что касается Сары де Рише, мне нечего сказать. Вы уже знакомы. Судя по всему, лорд Мортимер пригласил ее из-за парижской шумихи вокруг заказчика того ограбления. До скорой встречи, герцогиня Эмили Хилбороу. Че, все забрал-то? Герцогиня, ее святейшество готов помочь королю Георгу. Мы выделим средства на наем эмигрировавших роялистов для борьбы с Францией. Ваш друг кардинал Джузеппе Пьяджи. Господи, сколько читанины. Мадам, никогда не устану благодарить вас за проявленную заботу и внимание. Я у вас в долгу до конца своих дней. Просите чего угодно, я все сделаю. Что касается моего сына Уильяма, я безмерно благодарен вам за помощь. Вы знаете его предпочтения, и скоро сами поймете, что он в вас нуждается. Как мы и договаривались с королевой Шарлоттой, наш друг, герцог Хилсбороу, выполнит свое поручение и встретится с вами в течение полугода. После этого вы позабудете, что такое нужда. Искренне ваш Уильям Питт, граф Чатам.
A devil's thorn, to be used to uncover the best disguised traits.
Якорцы. Черт, ни меда, нифига нет вообще. Короче, ох ты. Надо просто ее обвинить и все, в наглую.
What can I do for you, Louis?
I've come to see you about last night's tragedy. Did you hear anything about what happened to Elizabeth?
Yes, we all did. Rumors spread quickly, you know. How awful. I didn't know her well, but I hope at least the poor thing didn't suffer too much.
Так, сюда что ли?
Death came quickly. You can be assured of that.
If such a senseless act can happen here, then none of us is truly safe anywhere. Lord Mortimer must be mortified that one of his guests could have committed such an act, don't you think?
He is indeed very upset about it. It's only natural after such a violent murder.
Violent? What do you mean?
Elizabeth was stabbed 9 times.
Oh my God, Louis. How awful. The murderer must have had a serious grudge against her to set upon her like that. It must have been a crime of passion. Do you know what happened exactly?
In fact, Lord Mortimer has asked me to look into this case, Emily.
Really? Are you Lord Mortimer's snoop now?
I'm doing it for Elizabeth, not to please Mortimer.
Good for you. Quite right, too. Have you found out anything?
I'm now interviewing all the guests to establish the alibis for each person. Just so that I can cross you off the list of suspects, can you tell me what you were doing on the night of the murder?
Am I given to understand that I'm on the list of suspects?
Don't take it the wrong way, but I must consider every possibility.
Well, if you absolutely wanted to be sure of my activities that evening, you only had to join me, you know.
I know, Emily. Especially since I couldn't prevent the murder, even though I spent part of the evening with Elizabeth.
You're sure it's not too hard to bear for you?
The fact is, I don't have a choice. But I will find the murderer. I owe Elizabeth that, at least.
Она так и не ответила, где была ночью.
Did you and Elizabeth get to know each other?
I must admit, Louis, I didn't take much interest in her. I feel a bit guilty about it, but I never actually spoke to her. She seemed burdened by her problems, and as she wasn't invited to the conference, I didn't really seek her out.
We found the murder weapon.
What is it?
A dagger, quite slim.
Have you found its owner?
Not yet. Still searching as it happens. That said, since the blade penetrated the body several times, the murderer's hand will have been covered in blood.
You think that's a clue?
The handprint was a very slender hand, Emily. Probably that of a woman.
Do you realize what that means? There are only 3 of us on the island. Bearing in mind that neither my sister nor myself had any reason to set upon the young lady, that means...
I know, Emily. I know.
Keep up your courage, Louis. I'm sure there's an explanation. You're bound to shed some light on it all.
If what you say is true, Emily, I'm less and less enthusiastic about shedding any light on the subject. I found a torn piece of dress in Miss Adams' room. Gray silk.
Where's it from?
That's what I'm trying to find out. The color doesn't match any of Elizabeth's dresses, but I might not have found all of her clothes yet.
Good Lord, Louis, Do you realize what this means? If this piece of dress isn't from Elizabeth, then it's... I don't have any grey silk dresses, Louis. Neither does my sister, since we wear the same clothes.
Значит, он намекает то, что это Сара.
That's exactly what I wanted to check with you.
I'm so sorry, Louis.
Thank you.
Are you all right? You know, I'm sure there's a good reason why your mother was at the scene.
Thank you, Emily.
Переписка с Пьяджи. Причем здесь вообще переписка?
I hear you were in discussions with the Holy See.
Oh, either His Eminence can't keep his tongue from wagging, or you've been poking your nose where you shouldn't, sir.
Even so, Emily, you're raising a royalist army. That's no small matter.
And you are straying from the subject. Is there anything else you wanted to ask me?
I won't keep you, Emily. Thank you for answering my questions.
See you, Louis.
Так. Кто остался-то? Так, гордой опять по кругу пошел, да? Можешь мне сейчас подняться к этому? На 3-й этаж. Что это?
Monsieur Napoléon Bonaparte. Monsieur Jacques Perru.
О, Жак Перю. С ним еще не беседовал. Вот она заставка. Было сразу к нему идти, да просто я как-то дверь его пропустил.
Greetings. It's fallen to me
Cut
that...
the crap! Get to the point. We both know why you're here.
And have you got anything to tell me?
What does it matter? It's too late anyway. Do what you have to do and get out.
Че, все так просто, что ли?
It's never too late, sir. If you have something to say, now is the time.
You don't understand. Everything's already written. It's over.
Why is he behaving like the perfect culprit? What is it that's already written? I'm not sure I follow you.
No, you don't.
A pattern with 4 circles.
О, вот этот подарок. Месье Перю, позвольте поблагодарить вас за щедрое пожертвование. Благодаря вам мы наконец-то отремонтируем западное крыло приюта. У ребят, которых вы нам передали, все хорошо. Малютка Пьер скоро снова будет ходить. Некоторым деткам все еще снится, как их родители стоят на эшафоте, но я уверена, что со временем кошмары пропадут. На случай, если вы пришлете нам еще детей, мы скоро докупим 20 кроваток. Мы с воспитанниками сердечно вам благодарны. Да здравствует республика, да здравствует Франция, сестра Мэри Эллей. Что там? Что ты не можешь унести? Якорцы. Короче, он на себя вину берет, явно типа намекая, что это он, и поведением, и своими ответами, но мне кажется, он кого-то покрывает.
Great, honey.
Мед. А якорцы, что такое якорцы? Все, блин, непонятно. Не зная, встретимся ли мы снова. Я попал в ловушку собственных решений. Тебя нужно защитить, без тебя у меня нет будущего, твою жизнь еще можно спасти. Уже не важно, сердишься ли ты на меня, просто знай, что я закончу сделку с дьяволом, которого надеялся обыграть. Я думал, что знаю все про этих чудовищ, но мой подвиг во имя Франции – ничто по сравнению с тем, на что способны они. Выхода нет, их челюсти скоро сомкнутся. Люблю тебя и всегда буду любить. Я думаю, вот этот вот чувак писал вот этой вот бабе, которую убили. Скорее всего. Потому что и он ее избивал не просто так, наверное, а чтобы типа изгнать дурь из нее, выбить. Типа одержимость. Скорее всего. Но он, наверное, не убивал. Возможно, она сама себя убила. Реально. Но я бы так сделал. Вот этот поворот был бы. Что она сама себе 9 раз в порыве, короче, потусторонних сил нанесла себе 9 ножевых ранений.
Records of the police. Notes intended for the police lieutenant of Paris.
It's a list of people under surveillance in Paris. Man, there's some well-known names on it. This is valuable information. This shouldn't be lying around.
Слабость, психология. Возьмем, навряд ли мы сюда вернемся. Дорогой друг, прошу вас посетить мой особняк, чтобы обсудить происшедшее в Париже. В Кале вас будет ждать лодка, которая доставит вас в английский порт Дувр. Оттуда экипаж довезет вас до Тинтеджелла, где пришвартован мой фрегат. В нем вы и остальные гости доплывете до моего острова. Жду дальнейшего вашего прибытия, лорд Уильям Мортимер. Понятно, приглашение. Ну чё, надо с ним говорить.
All right. Have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions.
О, давай про оружие.
You were armed the night of my arrival. Can I see your weapon?
No.
You do realize you're not helping, don't you? You're making it worse for yourself.
I know you were at the scene. We will save a lot of time if you just tell me what happened.
You know nothing at all.
Enlighten me then. For now, I have your footprint in a pool of blood.
That's right. The only thing you can prove is one of my boots was at the scene. Congratulations, you've wrapped up the investigation. All right, have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions. Let's get right to it. Are you Elizabeth Adams' murderer?
That is for you to prove, if I'm not mistaken, boy. You weren't expecting me to do all the legwork for you, were you? Lazy man.
Two days ago, I surprised you having a go at Miss Adams.
What happened? Did you want to give her another beating? She wouldn't let you push her around again, huh?
Shut up, you little shit! You have no idea what happened, and here you are, carping away. You think you're investigator of the year. Have you taken a look at yourself, Deriche?
Didn't you get enough beating her black and blue the last time?
I did not!
Why?
Nothing. Get away from me.
Just as soon as you stop treating me like I'm an idiot. If you wanted people to think you were guilty, you couldn't have done any better. So cut the bullshit and come clean now.
I can't! He'll come for revenge.
Who?
No one! Just shut your trap, goddammit! Yes, I was there. Yes, I walked in her blood. You've got all you need to wrap it up. Now scram.
Так, ну это явно не он. Кого он покрывает? Кого он покрывать может? Только монах, блин, остался вообще не при деле. Так, сейчас мне нужно подняться, наверное, на 3-й этаж. Я думаю, так. Так, я не разгадал там пароль. Так, и пистолет. И пистолет он свой там бросил, да, и наступил. Это его пистолет, я так понимаю, чтобы все подумали на него. А убийца, поди-кась. Неужто Мартимер? Типа он там мстит. Кто он там? Не деда же он забоялся. Он, не она. Он отомстит. Чертов дед.
What a tragedy, my son. How could such a
Это
thing have
подозрительно.
happened?
That's exactly what I'm trying to find out. Did you notice anything out of the ordinary last night?
I saw the young French soldier, Bonaparte, I believe, hanging around near Miss Adams' room. But I would not want to get an innocent man into trouble. He's probably nothing.
Так, понятно.
But if I were you, my son,
Это то же
talk to
самое.
Monsieur Perry. You remember how violently he set upon Miss Adams.
Oh, don't worry. He's on the list of suspects.
Все, короче, даже говорить со мной не хочет. Ну, пойдем к этому.
I've come to speak about the findings of the investigation, my lord.
I'm listening, Louis.
Я думаю, это он. Ну, давайте.
I believe I've identified the murderer.
Really, Louis? All right then. Please think carefully before you give me your answer. This is a very, very
Если
serious
будет его,
accusation.
если вариант Мартимер, то это он. Он отомстит. Кто такой фон Вельнер вообще? Кардинал Пьяджи. Но это точно не Наполеон и не Жак Перю. Кто такой фон Вельнер-то? Я с ним, да, по-моему, не разговаривал даже. Ну-ка. Элизабет. О, вот сама Элизабет. Вот это точно. Я, смотрите, сестра Эмили, моя мать. А зачем тогда накидали этот пистолетов этих? Так черт.
I believe it was suicide.
Suicide? Louis, I hope you have solid evidence.
Женской руки.
The knife found beside Elizabeth's body had a handprint on it, a slender hand. Without a doubt, the hand of a woman.
And Elizabeth is the only female guest? Come, Louis. Anything else?
She overdid the laudanum and the wine, probably to take away her anxiety.
She could have decided she couldn't go on and acted while she was not her normal self.
Sounds a bit far-fetched to me, but it isn't without logic. Anything else?
She was covered in scars from previous acts of scarification. That proves that she was prone to harming herself. Her suicide was the culmination of this.
What you say makes sense, but it's a little weak. Haven't you anything else?
It is my conviction that she killed herself.
So she stabbed herself 9 times? Really? That's very hard to believe, Louis. Louis, I'm afraid this is simply not sufficient. This is a serious accusation. I need concrete evidence. That is why I am taking over this case as of now. Right. It's time we spoke about your mother, Louis.
Что, сейчас мы выясним, что это ты, да?
She seems to be making every effort to steer clear of your guests.
What do you mean?
For the past few weeks, my mother's been playing cat and mouse, if you will. I don't know why, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that she's trying to avoid someone. The question is, who?
And in your opinion, would she be the cat or the mouse?
Думаю, кошка, она знает.
Knowing my mother, she would be the cat.
That doesn't make me feel any better, Louis.
What was the official reason why my mother came to your island?
I knew about your mother's activities, and yours, in the Golden Order. I thought we had everything to gain by working together.
You mean the canon deal with Monsieur Bonaparte?
Among others, yes. How did you hear about that?
Monsieur Bonaparte came to speak to me about it yesterday, during lunch.
I see. So impetuous. He was supposed to let me speak to you about it first. Our friend Napoleon desperately needed financial backing to properly equip his army. I took it upon myself to back him because I have a firm conviction that he can go far.
We shall see. However, there's one thing that surprises me. Isn't Bonaparte a bit young to deserve so much attention?
Well, you come straight to the point. I like that. Indeed, if you knew just how much you remind me of him. Trust me, I'll wager that Monsieur Napoleon will soon prove himself. I'm working on it, at least. Once this deal was closed, I had big plans for Sarah.
Such as what?
You see, I've invited several influential figures on my island to present them with a project at the conference. It will be presented later today. I thought that the Golden Order had a role to play. And I still think so. I was hoping Sarah would be able to join us.
I see.
Indeed, if by chance your mother decided not to return to us before the conference, would you do me the great honor of attending? If only to follow the deliberations while waiting for her to duly take her seat.
Why not? We shall see.
Thank you so much. In this way, you'll be able to keep your mother informed of what is said. There's something else I'd like to briefly go over. Earlier, you asked me the official reason for your mother's presence here. Is there an off-the-record reason why your mother came here?
She was looking for someone.
What do you mean?
In Paris, we were working on a smuggling case to do with occult objects. We had just arrested a dealer who intended to go to you to meet a buyer. My mother was here to find out to whom he intended to sell his stolen treasure.
What was the name of your dealer?
Von Borchert.
The dealer was called von Burchard. As for the buyer, he was unknown to us.
No, I don't know anything about that. There's something I still don't get. In your opinion,
Why would your mother remain in hiding over several weeks?
Maybe she found something out.
What do you mean?
My mother has a gift for investigating. If she had picked up a lead, nothing would have stopped her.
The only thing I can tell you is that Sarah had indeed changed. At the beginning of her stay here, we enjoyed spending time together, solving the world's problems.
You seem to know my mother very well, my lord. What did you talk about together?
Oh, as soon as we had a little free time, we liked to share points of view on practically any subject. We would find ourselves embarked on interminable discussions that could go from Monsieur Blanchard's flight in a hot air balloon to the Treaty of Jersey, or the adoption of the metric system in France last year, or even Mr. Eli Whitney's invention in the United States.
Ah, yes. His famous cotton gin. It was supposed to revolutionize cotton production in the United States.
It will revolutionize the world, Louis. The potential of this invention is much greater. Tomorrow, all industries will be switching to simple but large-scale production. Of that, I'm sure.
I'm surprised she didn't get you started on the Crusades. It was her favorite subject.
Are you joking? Sarah and I spent entire days together reliving them. It so happens that the Crusades are also my subject of predilection, especially the third. My ancestor distinguished himself brilliantly during the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Mother lulled my childhood with tales of the Crusades. How Richard the Lionheart and Philip Augustus had to battle it out to achieve their ends. And how Guy de Lusignan, having broken his word, launched the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Oh, I see Sarah's lessons have inspired new enthusiasts. Good on you, because not everyone can claim they know as much at your age. Your mother is a very well-read woman. You're quite lucky to have her as a model, Louis.
Yes, I know, but I'm still very worried.
I must admit, there are worse things to worry about now, Louis.
What do you mean?
Since she disappeared, your mother has been seen once. Her behavior on the evening of your arrival greatly surprised Gregory and myself. She resurfaced to attack Emma, Emily Hillsborough's twin sister. And she shot her with a pistol. Then, before Gregory could intervene, she ran off and disappeared again.
I beg your pardon? Hang on.
That means my vision on the wharf, it was actually happening inside the manor. Mother shot Emily's sister? The very person she came looking for? Why would she do that?
Excuse me, but between that and the childhood of Lady Adams, it's all a bit much for me to cope with. I need to piece it all together again to see things more clearly. You said that you spent a lot of time talking together at the beginning. What happened for that to change?
I'm afraid I haven't much to tell you. The more the days went by, the more she withdrew into herself. She never gave me an explanation, until the day came when she purely and simply disappeared.
Where did she go when she wanted to be alone?
She would shut herself away in a room we use as a box room upstairs.
Would you allow me to go there?
Naturally, Louis, of course. I'll send you a servant to open it.
Thank you.
One last thing, although I don't know if there is a connection.
I'm listening.
A gate was forced the other night near the wharf. Nothing serious, just a few small things damaged.
Sorry, my lord, but I was searching for leads to my mother. I thought I was hot on her trail and didn't take any precautions.
Well, you could have reported it to a servant. But never mind. I shall put it down to your ardor and anxiety. However,
Please try to respect my estate in future.
I certainly will. Please accept my sincerest apologies.
That's all I can tell you about the disappearance of your mother, Louis. I would like to have been more helpful.
I shall stay on her trail and follow up any leads.
Thank you. We will meet later on to welcome our last guest. In the meantime, I shall get someone to open the box room upstairs for you.
Thank you.
Чё, все-таки я лоханулся. Не разгадала там.
The room is just opposite Mortimer's study.
Так, он сказал этажом ниже. Так. Там будет еще слуга стоять. Ну-ка. Нет, значит здесь. Ну я понял, что за комната. Та дверь, которая была вообще без опознавательных знаков. Я несколько раз мимо нее пробегал. Ага. Черт. Что за башенная комната? Так. И сюда нельзя. Это что за комната? Ну, тут одна. Ой, я тут не был.
There are burnt papers in the chimney. There's a legible fragment left. Hey, I recognize my mother's handwriting. She says we must find a safer way to communicate. Someone is onto us. Trust in my faith in the man with the sword. So Mother had an accomplice here. Who could it be? Who could she be suspicious of? I must find the next part. Faith, sword. I recognize her love of riddles there.
Dante's Paradise.
Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays. They say that if you drink this, it gives you a real boost. What is this disc?
Магнит. Все, вошел, да? Сейчас, наверное, сюда.
The door appears to be locked on the other side. I think I heard something fall to the ground. A metallic sound, like a key. We'll see if it works.
Ну, это было предсказуемо.
It's open.
Какая-то загадка по-любому.
Honey, I couldn't have hoped for better. A chest with the occult symbol representing air. The New Testament. This book is incredibly precious. I believe this is the book my mother referred to when calling upon the Lord. This volume dates from the first edition by Gutenberg. It's the first book that was ever printed. The pages are covered in annotations in Latin, French, and Hebrew. Someone spent years studying this Bible. A volume of the Gutenberg Bible. I guess I'll just come back later.
Так.
St. John, painted by Guido Rini. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Rini. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. Fragment of amber.
Что это?
Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin. And so death passed upon all men, for all have sinned.
Вера в мечника. Это что-то надо написать. Сейчас.
St. John is known as the youngest of Christ's apostles. Well, we often give credit to
Иоанн
St. John for
Богослов,
having written
да?
about the apocalypse in the last book of the Bible.
Иоанн Богослов. Там я видел такого.
And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times and a half a time, from the face of the serpent. Hey, a new note. It's been folded carefully in the corner of this page. The writing, it's not my mother's. S. I found the book in your effects. I've concealed it where no one can get their hands on it. I can assure you, awaiting your instructions, I will hear your reply like he who hears the angel. Hears the angel? What does that mean? Oh, it's probably the place where she was expecting to get the location of the next note.
Глаз ангела.
Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? So we have the figure 11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11.
Цифра 11.
What's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe?
Павел. Цифра 11. Господи, что здесь такое? Вторая часть послания, да?
But he that hateth his brother is in darkness, and walketh in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, because that darkness hath blinded his eyes.
Так, это не то. Эту книгу, которую они хотят продать, купить. Жду ваше послание, как он, глаз ангела. Глаз ангела, как он. Ну-ка, еще раз.
Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni.
Кто ждет глаз ангела?
A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit,
Вот.
who appears here in the guise of an angel.
Матфея. От Матфея. Так, это не то. Господи, где я видел послание от Матфея? А тут ХЗ, да? 22, наверное. 11 два раза.
But Jesus turned him about, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour.
Нет. Так. Ну, давай так.
And said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh.
Тоже не так, да? Господи. Матфея.
Take heed that ye practice your justice before men, to be seen differently by them. Otherwise, ye shall have no reward of your Father, which is in heaven.
И это не то, что ли?
And great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore.
Как он, глаз ангела.
A drawing of the Apostle Matthew.
Апостола Матфея.
He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel.
Матфей.
Then they suborned men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God.
Так.
And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and chief of the priests which did so.
Методом тыка, да?
And suddenly there came a sound from heaven like a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. and he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance. Hey, there's a note here. A message from Mother in reply to E. We must leave urgently, but first I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare. Watch out for Volner. He figured out I was avoiding him. Allay suspicion. See you tomorrow evening. Stand ready. For now, let's cease all communication until we meet. Take care of yourself. I suppose this must be the last message. What happened afterward? If it's what I suspect, I fear the worst. What did Mother mean by, I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare? I must go beyond the nightmare. What does she mean by that? I'm guessing it's a metaphor. I need to figure out what this means. Mortimer's getting his guests together. I ought to join them so I don't look suspicious.
Что? Надо было там разгадать, что ли? Блин. Я-то думал, к гостям идти надо было. Все. Да. Всего один уровень за главу, так я ж никогда не прокачаюсь.
Time I went back and joined everyone in the small salon.
Так, ребят, давайте уже на этом закончим. Продолжим в следующей серии. Что-то я зафейлил опять миссию, потому что я подумал, что мне надо выйти и там где-то найти. Оказывается, я даже был в комнате заглянуть за какую-то стену кошмара. Я так понимаю, что-то опять по картинам и по этим записям посчитать. Но, к сожалению, мне игра не дала такого шанса. Ну, допустим, вы точно уверены, что хотите покинуть, допустим, место, где вы еще не выполнили все задания. Тогда, конечно, я бы сразу сообразил. А тут я хоп, нажал и вышел, и сразу фейл. Ну, так неинтересно. Но зато реалистично. В общем, ребят, понравилось данное видео, ставь палец вверх. Ждешь продолжения, прекрасно знаешь, что можно подписаться на канал, нажать на колокольчик. Получать вовремя все уведомления. Я с вами долго не прощаюсь. Скоро увидимся. Всем спасибо и пока.